Welcome to I Feel Like.
Your ultimate guide to navigating life as a young adult.
We're your hosts,
Anna,
Dan,
and Evan.
And we're here to share our experiences and provide advice on everything from surviving college and forming relationships,
the situational etiquette, and maintaining a social life.
I feel like it's time to start the podcast. Hi, welcome to this week's episode. Today we're going to be talking about eating on a budget. There are a ton of different ways to get food, so we're going to break it down and give you some advice on what you should do.
Yeah, eating is kind of one of those things where everyone has to do it, but it can be
I
kind
sure
of tough.
hope so.
It can be kind of tough when you're in college, or maybe you just graduated in your early 20s when you're kind of, broke. And food can definitely be expensive. So hopefully through this video, we'll give you some tips and tricks to help you still eat good, delicious food that's kind of healthy and not break the bank.
And it's definitely tough because it's not like something they necessarily teach you how to do. You know what I mean? It's not like they're telling you how to budget for food and how to really cook good foods on a budget. I was combining foods and meals.
No, yeah. I feel like honestly, I feel like for me it was all just like trial and error. Like especially like once I got my own kitchen and like really just went to college, all that it was just kind of like trying to figure it out because I'm used to just like having my kitchen at home and just like going downstairs and eating whatever's there. So it was a huge transition for me.
Yeah, and to your point, when you do live on your own or go to school, up until that point, most people are probably used to their parents cooking dinner, cooking the meals, buying the groceries. So when you have to do that on your own for the first time, it can be kind of overwhelming, especially if you're in a situation where you don't have unlimited funds. So, I guess to get into some of the options out there, I guess the first option there is if you're in college is obviously the dining hall or whatever sort of food situation your college offers.
Do all colleges have dining halls? I would assume they do, right? They
I
must
think all
offer
colleges
something.
have like food, but I'm not sure if they all have like a traditional dining hall like our college has. Like I feel like we have a very like cafeteria style type thing at our school, but like I know at like some of my friends' schools they have more like restaurants that you have like dollars and stuff that you can like spend at, things like that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I forgot about those, but yeah. But I think the obvious pro to dining halls, just to start off with, is just the convenience, I guess, right?
Definitely, you don't have to think about it. You just go in and there's usually an abundance of different choices. You grab a plate, pick what you want, and you sit down and eat it. There's really no thought behind it, very convenient. And a lot of times dining halls do have a wide variety, so usually pretty
Usually.
much
Big
so,
asterisk there.
so usually people will probably be able to find something that they like.
I think another pro of dining halls is that they're also pretty quick. Like if you just like have some classes and you only have like a 30-minute window or whatever and you need to like eat a meal, eat a snack, whatever, get your energy back up. I feel like dining halls are usually pretty fast because all the foods for the most part normally made ahead of time. It's just sitting kind of there on the hot plate. So you can just take what you want, eat it real fast and go to wherever you need to go.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the pros. It's not like you have to run back to your dorm or apartment and get your ingredients out and get the dishes out and cook something and then clean up and then run back to class. It's definitely way easier to just eat, give the plates to someone else and leave.
And I feel like it's that also just comes from it being closer on campus too, just literally being closer. You know what I mean?
This isn't necessarily food related, but I think the dining halls, especially kind of maybe freshman and sophomore year of college, are kind of fun. It's kind of the social hub in a way, especially when you're trying to meet people. So going down to the dining hall with a big group of friends and kind of just pigging out, that's kind of fun. I enjoy doing that sometimes in college.
No, I honestly feel like especially like freshman year, a lot of like I don't want to say my favorite memories in college, but a lot of like really fun times that I've had were at the dining halls. Just honestly because like it was a time when like everyone could get together. We could all kind of make fun of the food in a way, being like, "Oh, here's the mac and cheese again," or something like that, whatever. But I feel like it just is a good place to like make good memories with people.
Well, I definitely think it's honestly kind of the only option you have sometimes, especially in your freshman year. Like if you're in a dorm, I doubt there's a kitchen you're necessarily dying to use with 20 other people. So sometimes it can be your only option, especially if you were forced to get a meal plan. So there's definitely a lot of what ifs out there, like based on your situation, where you live, what you had to buy, things like that.
Yeah, dining hall is probably going to be more applicable to underclassmen in college. I think it's pretty common for colleges to uh, either require or highly, highly recommend getting a meal plan just because I guess it is cheap and, well, I guess it's not that cheap, but just because it's convenient and, they want their money. But I have a little dining hall tip. If your school has it, which they probably do, they probably put out a daily or weekly menu online. That way you can go onto the website ahead of time and see what the options are. Trust me, once you start doing it, you will do that every single time. Some of my best memories are the rush I had logging on to see if they had like my favorite food, and some of the most disappointing times were when they did not have that special item I was craving.
Yes, so most of our memories from college do relate to dining halls as a whole. But honestly, I forgot about looking at the menu. That was good. I'd say another tip that's dining hall related is like you have a wide variety of food. I would recommend kind of diversifying what you eat. Like maybe don't eat the same thing every day. That could just be like a me thing, but like I don't know. I feel like since you have all this, I don't want to call it free food because you're paying for it, but like in the moment, free food, you might as well like enjoy it, try a little bit of everything because there might be something that you like more than what you've been eating every day beforehand.
This is going to be some real candid advice, and if your university asks you where you heard this, you didn't hear it from me. But at a lot of dining halls, it's self-serve, all you can eat. If you can discreetly maybe bring like an extra container to, I don't want to say steal, but like borrow a little here and there to take back for like a late night snack, or if you just don't have time to go somewhere. I mean, you are paying for it, so you might as well, but just be careful. I do know at our school, people have definitely gotten caught and reprimanded. I mean, it's not like they got a note in their file or anything like that. It was just kind of like the employees telling them not to. But if you can sneakily take a little extra, maybe like some pieces of fruit here and there or something like that, definitely go for it. But again, you didn't hear it on I Feel Like podcast.
I mean, just remember we're not professional advice givers. That's our motto at this point. So
We
take it with a
are
grain of salt.
not professionals.
But yeah, just to add on, like, just fill up your water bottle before you leave with your soda, or little things like that, like easy things that you can pick up without being seen. Like you're not going to be able to open up a container and fill it up at the tray, right in front of the person serving you. But like those grab and go things, take those.
No, the
Again,
strategy is you load up your plate and then
Yes,
you
bring it back.
attach your
Yes,
container
absolutely.
at the
Yes,
that's what
table
I
yeah,
so
was gonna
nobody's
absolutely.
looking.
say.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
If you're gonna do it, you have to at least make an attempt
yeah,
not to be caught.
But again,
sure.
you did not hear it from us.
Real quick, let's get in some cons of the dining
Yes, I
hall.
was gonna say that too. Hmm.
I think since this topic is around eating on a budget, they're definitely expensive. I mean, I understand they have to pay for the employees. There's a lot of, I guess, operational costs that go into it, but I mean, that meal plan assumes you're gonna eat like an abundance of food every time, which probably isn't true. So, they're just not the cheapest.
And it assumes you're going to eat like 3 meals a day, which, maybe that's what I'm doing, but I bet most college kids aren't doing that. So it really depends there. And also, I, I feel like maybe legally it's nutritional. Is that the right word? Nutritional? But I feel like half the time it doesn't seem very nutritional.
Is it nutritious?
There you go. There you
Okay.
go.
No, I totally agree. Like for me at least, like sure I would try to eat healthy sometimes, but like sometimes they would just make even their healthy food so unhealthy by putting just so much butter in it, so much
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
flavoring, all that. I don't know. Like so I definitely recommend if you have to pay for the dining hall, like do the dining hall, go for it. But like if you have other options, maybe stick to some of those other options. So I guess in terms of like other options, I can think of like some good ones, but I think the prominent one that comes to mind would just be cooking on your own, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the most affordable option. And I guess, assuming you know how to cook and you're decent at it, I think it's probably going to give you better tasting food because in dining halls, I don't know, it's kind of, mass produced, not that good all the time. So I think you do get better quality when you cook it yourself and you're choosing what you eat. So you're not kind of falling for the junk food that they're constantly putting out. So having more control over what you're eating and I guess the nutritional value of that um, is more budget friendly and probably overall healthier.
If you're not a cook, that's okay. I feel like nowadays there's just so many ways to learn. Like you can Google something, and if it says like dice an onion, you can just Google that. Like it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. I feel like if cooking's what's holding you back, I feel like you can figure that out.
Well, I think some people just don't like to cook. So,
Does
I mean,
anyone like to
if you
cook?
I like to cook.
Maybe 1% of the population. I don't think anyone at the end of the day like, oh, I can't wait to cook. They're like, I can't wait to
But
eat,
what I
maybe.
was saying
But
is if you're someone who doesn't like to cook, I don't think they would be that inclined to Google different cut techniques and stuff like that.
well, I think my advice for if you're not too good at cooking or if you don't know how to cook really, I would say Google a recipe. Like that's definitely what I would say. And then if you don't know something in the recipe, then you can just Google further. Like I feel like there's just so many clear tutorials on what you could do and different recipes and
I think in the case of someone who maybe is not very comfortable with cooking, doesn't necessarily like it, I think some a really good tip for that person would be finding a few easy recipes that you enjoy and kind of just focusing on those and getting your skill up to a point where, you can easily and comfortably make it. If you just have kind of a few fallback things that you can eat each week, I think that's a good step right there. Like, boom, you've already got a few solid lunches, dinners, whatever.
I feel like if you are gonna follow that path and like if you're looking for like those good recipes, and honestly, if you have like no preferences, you're good with everything. I feel like, at least in my mind, there's some good things to go to, especially if you're eating kind of on a budget, you want to save money, things like that. So, in my mind, in terms of like if you're buying your own food, I think the number one of the top, if not the number one things that I would suggest buying would just be pasta. Pasta boxes are normally like pretty cheap. I know the store that I go to, they're like 89 cents a box, and that can last like 2, 3 nights. And it's pretty easy to make. You can go with a lot of different protein or different foods, things like that. You can add a lot of sauces, do whatever you want with it, have your variety. So I definitely say that in terms of what I think, pasta would be the number one choice of food to buy.
yeah, I think pasta's a good example just because you can make it as complicated as you want it to be. But also, I wanted to add that I feel like I doubt you're living alone at this point in your life. And if you are, then, you know, you are. But if you're not, if you are in college, you're like right out of college, you probably have a roommate. So, like, you're probably not alone. You can definitely have the two of you work through it together or whatever. So, pool your resources, I guess. But yeah, I think the pasta was a good example. I'm trying to think of more foods other than pasta because pasta was also my example. I don't really know what else. Chicken?
Yeah, I
Just
mean, I think
generally?
chicken is something that a lot of people probably like. Again, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. I mean, there's so many recipes out there. Even just cooking some chicken with like salt and pepper and cutting it up to put in a salad or putting it in like a pasta dish just to make a pasta dish a little heartier. Another thing that I was thinking is I know a lot of fried rice recipes are easy. Rice is pretty cheap just to buy in a big bag, and if you have a rice cooker or even just a pot, you can make a lot of rice, and you can use scrambled eggs to throw in there, frozen vegetables, all of which are pretty cheap. And I think the sauce is usually just some soy sauce, maybe a few other things, but that's another cheap, easy, throw it together, low effort meal.
I'm not a food expert, and maybe rephrase. I'm not a cooking expert, but I'll definitely recommend using your oven. I feel like it's definitely underutilized because I feel like a lot of times you don't need like a pan and you don't need to worry about stirring or different steps. You literally just put it on your tray or put it in a pot, whatever, and then you throw it in the oven, set a timer, and then you take it out. So I feel like a lot of people definitely don't use their oven to its maximum potential, and that's what I would say. You don't have to do like three different pots and stuff like that. It's like one thing.
I would agree that the oven's a little less intimidating. It's just kind of a throw it in and not forget about it, but forget about it for 20, 30 minutes and then take it out and it's done. Speaking of the oven, I think another good route to go in this situation is like sheet pan meals. There's a lot of different recipes where you can put maybe like some chicken or another cut of meat, and then some vegetables on that same sheet, and you kind of just toss it all in oil and throw it in. It's on one pan, easy cleanup. And if it's a big enough pan, it might make a couple servings that you could use throughout the week.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it is pretty quick, I guess, for the amount of food you get, and easy cleanup, low effort.
that's a great tip too with the oven. And, I feel like cooking in bulk is definitely a great tip just because you will have to do less meals. And I feel like an oven's a great way to do that. But, if you are doing pasta, like, I don't know if I would say make it in bulk because I don't feel like pasta heats up well, but, you do you. Make in bulk however you can.
Well, while we're kind of on the topic of bulking up on food, I don't think that sounded right. We're not like bulking up muscles or something, but anyway, ignore that.
Unless you want to bulk up, but,
This is
think
not the
I meant to
podcast for
say
that.
we
I
all
meant
eat
to
for
say
different reasons.
stocking up, not bulking up. That was a slip of the tongue on my part. But anyway, I think meal prepping and definitely meal planning are essential if you are looking to stay budget friendly. That way, if you make a list of the ingredients you need for your meals and you plan out what you want to eat for the week or the next 2 weeks or however long, then you go into the store with the plan and you know what you need instead of kind of just roaming the aisles aimlessly and throwing in random stuff that looks good or you think that you might use or that you might like. And same thing with meal prepping. I think if you just spend some time on a weekend or whenever you have it to stock up on some meals that you can reheat later on throughout the week, having something easy and ready to go, I think decreases your chances of ordering out or choosing something that is more expensive and is not as worth it in terms of quantity and price.
I do just want to emphasize what she said about the meal planning. Honestly, since I've started doing that, I've saved so much money. I feel like I'm the person at the grocery store who like never really went in with a set list and would just kind of like put random things in my cart that looked good. Then I would go to checkout and be like, how is it this much money? And honestly, meal planning has probably saved me like $10, $15 every time I go to the grocery store now. And if it's only like a $30 total like bill, that's a lot of money.
And I think meal planning cuts down on food waste. That way you're not buying stuff and you don't really have a plan on how you're going to use it and then it just sits there to the point where it goes bad and you have to throw it away, which is just wasted money, wasted food. Nobody wants that.
I mean, the same goes for like leftovers. Like, don't make leftovers if you're not going to eat them. You know, like, I feel like a lot of times when I was a kid, I feel like we would have leftovers and then we would just throw them away eventually. And that was just kind of a waste. So just don't make another meal if you have leftovers. Just eat the leftovers first. I realize people probably don't like leftovers. I know I don't, but like, suck it up.
Or just don't make more food than you can eat in one sitting. That
I
also
mean,
works.
it really depends on, the situation, but sometimes you can't eat more on your plate. I don't know. Sometimes you gotta put it away.
Also, with leftovers, I think maybe being strategic when you're cooking and thinking about how things will reheat or if things will save, because some things like creamy sauces for pasta, those just don't hold up when you reheat them. So maybe opting for more of like a tomato sauce instead of a cream sauce, just because you know it will hold up. Or if you don't like the way pasta heat tastes reheated, maybe store your pasta in a different container than the sauce and heat them up separately and then combine, just so they maybe don't get as soggy. So I think storing things separately or maybe even changing things that you do eat to make them reheat better can be a good way to still have somewhat enjoyable leftovers.
I think another piece of advice that kind of came to mind is that if you have like one local grocery store that you shop at in your first apartment while you're in college, whatever, what have you, I would definitely recommend getting like a shopper's card or like a point card, whatever, like their savings card, whatever that particular store has. Like for each trip, you're probably not saving too much money, but like over time, that stuff really grows. Like I've probably saved at least like $100 over like the past 3 years or so, just like at my grocery store. And I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily sign up for these things. Like whenever they ask, they're always like, no, I don't want to sign up. But if you're going to be at the same grocery store for like a long time, I would definitely recommend signing up for that card. Like there's no reason not to. You're going to save money.
Definitely. A lot of times grocery stores run weekly deals and sales, and a lot of times those deals are exclusive to their membership program. I know one time at the grocery store that was close by, they had buy one get one free strawberries. So I got a free pack of strawberries just for having the cards. It's definitely going to depend on where you're living and what kind of stores are around, but I think for people in college, young 20s living on their own, and it's just themselves that they're responsible for feeding, I think Trader Joe's is a great option. I mean, I love Trader Joe's all around, but I think a lot of their food comes in portions that really cater to one or two people. It's not like a Costco or a bulk store where you're gonna have a pound of grapes and you're never gonna eat them all before they go bad. So I think Trader Joe's has a lot of really nice frozen meals or packaged meals that are pretty cheap and they still taste good and the portion size is just right.
Is Trader Joe's cheap? I feel like I always hear that it's not cheap.
I think if you buy smart there, it's cheap, but like there are definitely some items that are pricey.
'Cause I'm feeling like if you're gonna, maybe I would go to Costco. Maybe not for like certain things, but like to not bulk up. What did you say? What's the other
Stock up.
word? Stock up on like snack foods, like, because you're probably gonna snack, right? Especially if you're a younger, person living on your own. I feel like you want to get that deal on that goldfish box, right? And buy it cheaper. So I don't know.
Does Costco have a membership though to get in?
They
Because I
do
know.
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
There's an
Okay.
annual membership, but I was gonna say if your parents have one and maybe you go home for a weekend or maybe they visit you, maybe you can just ask them if they have a membership to bring up some bulk snacks. Because yeah, Evan, that's a great point. Stuff like non-perishables, snacks, things to munch on, they're not really going to go bad. And if you just have a big bulk case of them, usually buying in bulk is cheaper and then that's just one less thing that you have to buy on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Back
I,
on Trader Joe's for a sec. Yeah, some of the items can be a little bit pricier, but I think where Trader Joe's really shines and is really great for people our age is in their frozen section. They have literally so many different types of frozen meals that you can just heat up in a skillet or an oven, and it's most of them taste pretty good. They have a lot of pastas, they have like frozen burgers, frozen pizzas. They have even like stuff like sesame chicken, and they really do have a good variety of stuff. And I think on average, their frozen foods like that, or I guess frozen meals rather, are probably anywhere from like 2.99 to 3 or 4.99 for the package, which I don't think is a bad deal.
I was gonna say, I feel like frozen options are definitely a great option to even consider. I feel like a lot of people kind of breeze by them, but I feel like they're definitely something you should consider when shopping. Also, I just wanted to get your opinion on ramen noodles because I feel like that's something you always hear, and I'm just not really. I don't think I've only had it one time because someone else in the door made it, but otherwise, I've never done it. And I would say probably not to do it, but yeah.
I think it's a part of like the quintessential college experience to like experience it in like a residence hall or a dorm room or whatever. But in terms of quality, I feel like there are much better tasting things for similar prices.
I actually love that you brought up the ramen noodles. I kind of forgot about it, but you're right. It is such a cliche that all college students and young adults eat is ramen noodles every night. I will say I personally really enjoy ramen noodles. I do think they taste good. Um, I would eat them more often. It's just they have so much sodium in them. They're just really not healthy for you. So, I mean, I think if you're on a budget, it's totally fine to eat that stuff every once in a while, but if you are being health conscious, maybe not the best decision for all the time. I think they're, good in a pinch or maybe to substitute if one week you're low on funds or something like that. But I think the same thing can be said for a lot of those boxed mac and cheeses and stuff like that. I mean, they're not that healthy, but they're cheap.
I would say I definitely wouldn't gravitate towards anything that is microwave focused. Like those little cups of like 1 minute microwave, whatever that you want to buy. Like if you're on a budget, like sure, that's definitely going to be a budget thing, but that's definitely not the most healthy if you're going for that. Also, I feel like a lot of times people maybe especially new to the food scene aren't probably going for like the fresh fruits and stuff, and that's like okay, like I get it. But I would say maybe they're not going towards it because it's like expensive, which it is. But I would say keep in mind going back to like the frozen foods, like I feel like you can get some great frozen things and those are cheap, and like definitely keep that as an option. It doesn't really matter that it's frozen, they're perfectly fine.
I think Anna brought it up, but frozen vegetables are honestly great because they're like half the price of like fresh vegetables, and also they're a lot easier to make. And personally, I'm sure the fresh ones taste better, but like the frozen ones taste fine enough, and you're still getting like the nutrition out of them.
For sure. They are a lot cheaper than buying fresh. They last way longer than fresh. It's crazy. When you start buying your own food, food spoils so quickly. It like I've had times where I have bought fresh produce. I look away for 5 minutes and it's already gone bad. Like it's crazy. I guess, if you do use up fresh produce quick and you have it in your budget to afford that, that's great. But a lot of things like frozen fruits and vegetables are cheaper alternatives to getting the same, pretty much the same quality ingredients that last longer and are cheaper.
I would say also if you're a new to the cooking scene, use your freezer. Like if something's gonna go bad, put it in the freezer. Like that chicken that you bought, like don't keep that in the fridge. Put that in the freezer. That can stay there for like a month. It'll be fine.
I love the freezer. I freeze so much. Sometimes, depending on the leftovers, some sorts of leftovers freeze really well, and then you can
Freeze that
just
pizza you bought.
what
That's what I've
pizza?
learned.
What are you
No, I'm
talking
no, I'm
about?
saying like
Pizza?
I'm saying in general, if you bought a pizza and it's gonna go bad, put it in the freezer.
Like a
That's what
frozen
I've
pizza?
learned. No, it doesn't have to be frozen. Like we've gotten pizza as takeout and put it in the freezer to make it last longer.
I'm just confused. Like you bought that much pizza that you
I'm
can't finish
just
it.
I was just trying to get at that you'd be surprised what can be it put in the freezer and will be good afterwards.
Honestly, though, great kind of connection because I feel like there's another really, maybe not good option, but there's another option when it comes to getting food as a young adult. And I feel like that's just like food delivery services, like getting pickup, getting delivery, like takeout, all things like that. So I guess for me, the biggest drawback to these things, because obviously, at least for me, it's better food if I'm getting delivery or takeout. But I feel like the biggest
Debatable.
drawback for me is cost.
Yeah, it is expensive to eat out. Even I guess food delivery apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash, whatever you use, do run expensive just because you're paying for the food and then you're paying for the driver tip, fees on top of fees on top of fees. So especially for one person, if you're not splitting the cost with anyone, it's kind of a lot, I think, to pay all this money in fees for a meal just for yourself. So I mean, eating out's definitely fun and it's definitely a treat, but if you're looking to save some money, I wouldn't recommend it on a regular basis.
Like just like tonight, I got Uber Eats with some friends, and like I think our food ended up being around like $35, but then our total was like $55, and it's like it should not have cost 20 extra dollars to drive it like 3 blocks down the road, you know?
I don't know. You've definitely talked about this, to me before, like monthly subscriptions to food delivery things, and I don't know how those work. And maybe do those take out like the tip and the delivery cost? Like, are you literally just paying for each month?
I think that that is a good point to bring up. Like, okay, so let's say you are kind of broke, but you love takeout and delivery. You know that you're going to be getting it like pretty often every
I
month.
think Dan just described himself.
Yes, I do love takeout. I make it a point to get it at least once a week. However, I think a good thing to do once, like if you are like me and you order takeout a lot, is to like subscribe to these monthly subscriptions. I know things like Uber Eats and DoorDash, they have like their like Dash Pass or like I don't know what the Uber Eats one is called. I think it's like a subscription or whatever. But anyway, it's basically you pay this monthly fee and it takes out like all the miscellaneous fees that are associated with your order, like the delivery fees, service fees, just random fees that they have. You still have to pay tip on top of it. But like if you know that you're going to be paying over like $15-20 a month in just delivery fees, I think it's a really good thing to look into if you want to save money.
I did not know that those servers did that, but that does seem like a good deal if it's something that you use a lot. I've definitely used Uber Eats and other services. I don't know. I mean, it's an experience, and I guess it is kind of fun, but I always feel like by the time I get the food, it's kind of soggy. It's never really that great. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of takeout from restaurants to begin with, but I don't know. I'm always just kind of underwhelmed by the food and for how much I paid it almost just seems, at least in my opinion, like kind of a ripoff. But that's just me and I know that I do like cooking more than some other people, so maybe I'm a little biased.
I guess my advice would be if if you are a Dan and you do love takeout and you need takeout, try and pick it up in person. That probably may not be as convenient now in a pandemic, and especially if you're like in a suburb, you're probably not going to be able to walk right to the restaurant or whatever. But you can get a car, if you have a car, drive there. But either way, I would definitely say you don't need to get it delivered. You can go pick it up. You'll save yourself some money. It's not that hard. It's probably quicker than delivery too. So yeah, definitely do that.
I think if you're a person who really does enjoy eating out or someone who just really does not want to cook, I think doing something like Dan and telling yourself, "Okay, I'll get it only once a week." That way you don't feel like you're being robbed of the experience, but you're also kind of setting a boundary for yourself so you're not just ordering whatever you want whenever you want and blowing through your money and maybe even a good idea would be to set a cap on how much you wanted to spend. If you decided, I don't want to go over $30 on this meal, so sure, I'll order out once a week, but I'm not going to spend more than 30, 40, however much money on that food.
I think that that's also a really good point too, just going back a little bit for if you're also buying food to like set up a budget of how much you want to spend just on food for the week. I feel like regardless if you're in a grocery store, if you're like looking at a menu, ordering online, whatever, I feel like a lot of the time, or at least for me, I just kind of start adding things to the cart because it looks good in the moment. So I think it's definitely smart and good advice to kind of set those boundaries, be like, oh, I'm not going to pay more than $30 for this meal. I'm not going to pay more than $30 for groceries this week, things like that. And I think it will, in the long run, save you a ton of money.
I mean, I would definitely say though, if possible, try not to get takeout. Like I know it's probably better than what a lot of people are gonna make, but you really are gonna save yourself money. And I think you can make perfectly good stuff at home that's gonna be the same quality, if not better than a restaurant. So I don't know.
Yes, I did not want to like say that because I know a lot of people love takeout, and I know I'm probably in the minority on this, but I've definitely realized takeout, or not even just takeout, but eating at restaurants is such a scam. I mean, I understand they have costs in addition to just the ingredients that they need to pay. I understand that it's just a business thing, but you can go to a restaurant, buy a pasta dish for $20. Pasta's like a whole box of pastas like under $1, and you can make a good sauce with like canned tomatoes and salt and pepper. Like you could make the exact same meal for a fraction of the cost. It's just like it I almost like don't even like eating out just because of how expensive it gets. And like I said, I do like to cook, and I'm willing to put in that effort where some people may not be, but uh it just it's such a scam sometimes. And I definitely enjoy making things, and sometimes when I eat out, it's not even that good. It's overpriced and overvalued.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. But
Yeah, Dan, what do you have to say now?
if you are like me and you don't want to put in that cooking effort, then I think Evan had a good point. Get takeout, walk to get the food. It will save you a lot of money. I'm also lazy sometimes, so I don't do that a lot, but definitely do that if you aren't lazy.
No, you also don't have to be making five-star meals. Like we mentioned this earlier, like have a go-to easy meal. You don't have to spend an hour cooking each night. If you don't feel like cooking, phone it in. You don't need to do this whole thing, and you don't need to get takeout. It's expensive.
I think more recently I've kind of adapted the mindset of I'd be more inclined to spend money on outside food if I'm going to a restaurant with friends, or if I'm hanging out with people and ordering food, maybe not just on a random, weeknight if I'm just cooking for myself and it's not really an occasion. So, I mean, obviously do what works for you and your schedule, but if you are looking to save some money, then maybe reserving money for eating out only on special occasions or times when you're with other people or celebrating, just things that are a little bit more special and events rather than just ordering takeout because it's a Wednesday night and you're hungry and lazy.
Yes, don't do that. Um, I think Evan had a good point, and since we're starting to get to the end, I think that a good way to kind of start our rapid fire would be what's everyone's go-to meal? Like what's everyone's like quick, like on a budget go-to meal?
I think we had enough trouble coming up with go-to meals when we talked about it 20 minutes ago. So let's come back to that one. Let's circle back.
I mean, I have an answer because I can say I'll do it. I'll out myself. It's not a big deal. I make the same thing every night, and I'm okay with that. That's I don't know if that's advice, but like it works for me. I know what I'm spending each week. So, yeah.
So what's your
Yeah,
go-to
what
meal?
what
You
is the
never
I'm
meal?
embarrassed
answered
to
the
say.
question.
I'm sorry. I forgot, and now I was embarrassed originally. Whatever. I make a pasta dish, and I put in some mascarpone and some pesto, and I put some tomatoes in. And usually I'll meal prep, and I'll do like chicken for the week, and I'll put that in the oven and I'll just heat up the chicken. But the pasta, I don't like to heat up pasta, so I make that each night. That's my meal.
I feel like for me, I have like three go-to meals that I kind of cycle through because I don't like eating the same thing
Lies.
every.
No, just list the one thing. Come on. Be
No,
real.
let him do three.
Yeah.
No, he has the one.
Our listeners deserve
He's
as
lying
much
to your
Evan,
advice
listeners.
as we
Evan,
have to
Evan was my
offer.
roommate, and he knows that I've eaten more than one thing.
He's
So
lying. Go
my
ahead, share.
primary thing is I do a pasta dish similar to Evan. It has I found this tomato pesto sauce that I really like at my local grocery store. It's pretty cheap. It's only like $3. So I do like that. Some pasta. I like bow tie, and I also do chicken. So that's one of my meals. Another meal that I do a lot is I do chicken and rice. I make rice a lot. I have a rice cooker, so it's pretty convenient, like Anna was saying. Also, it's really cheap. And then
Yeah,
third,
my rice cooker.
I was
wow,
wondering if she was gonna
you
say
you
that.
outed
And I
me
have
right
not
there.
gotten back.
You can come pick it up at any time. And my third go-to quick meal is just tacos. I feel like tacos are really easy. You can just like kind of cook chicken in a skillet or whatever protein you want, add like the pre-made like taco or fajita seasoning, whatever, and just like put it all in a tortilla shell. Maybe like put some like lettuce, onion, tomato, guac if you have it. I don't know, but I feel like it's really easy.
One of my go-to breakfasts, switching it up a little bit, is making your own breakfast sandwich. You can just get a bagel, English muffin, whatever kind of bread you like from the store. Usually what I do is I cook up like some sort of a breakfast meat, like bacon, sausage, or something like that, in just a pan on the stove, and then I use the grease from that as, to oil up the pan for the eggs. I mean, eggs cook up pretty quick, pretty easy. And then, just melt a piece of cheese on the eggs if you want it, assemble it. You have a breakfast sandwich that is way cheaper than if you bought one from like Wawa or something like that every day. And also, I found that breakfast sandwiches freeze pretty well if you just wrap them up individually in some aluminum foil, pop them in the freezer, take it out the night before you want it. It's ready to go to be reheated in the morning.
I guess I also wanted to add a breakfast thing because I also eat the same breakfast every day. I feel like cereals are a great way to go too. I eat Frosted Mini Wheats, highly recommend, and I would say try out cereals.
My next rapid fire tip would be use the internet. Pinterest always has a ton of recipes. There's so much creative, interesting stuff out there. If you just research a little, I'm sure you'll be able to find a ton of easy meals that fit your budget. If you have any dietary restrictions, yeah, just don't be afraid to look stuff up because I'm not creative enough to come up with all these different meals and ingredients and all that.
My rapid fire advice would be if you are using like those apps to order takeout or deliver like Uber Eats or DoorDash, a lot of the times they also have like deals where to be like, oh, spend like $10 and get like $5 off or something like that. So like maybe just like convince like your roommates or your family or some of your friends to be like, hey, do you want like a side of fries or something so you can get over that threshold so you can get like the free delivery fees or like free items even sometimes. So definitely take advantage of those things.
I think those deals make it seem like the customer is getting a good deal, but it's really just the company benefiting from like a logical fallacy that the customer has, but okay.
I agree that the business is always winning, but if you're going to be getting those foods anyway, at least get the most for your money.
Another tip that I have is stocking up on some pantry staples, stuff that just can be kept and won't really go bad, like pasta, grains, lentils, rice, some canned goods. Um, and maybe even like some frozen vegetables because that stuff doesn't go bad. If you have some staples that you can throw together to make a quick meal, that's always a good backup if you're in a situation where you are in desperate need of something, or maybe you don't have as much money to spend on food. It's just a good backup to have so you don't fall back on ordering out or something that is way more expensive.
I think another area people could save a lot of money would be drinks. I feel like don't forget there's water. You know, you don't need to buy a thing of sodas or what have you, don't forget that you can definitely save some money by just drinking water, and it's definitely way healthier for you too. So yeah, I think we gave a ton of advice. I would say in the end, just kind of know your own budget, make a plan, definitely go into the week knowing what you're going to do, and just try and eat as healthy as you can.
We definitely covered a lot of different situations, a lot of different options in this video, but ultimately it's just going to depend on your own budget, your own lifestyle, a lot of different factors like that. So again, there's no one size fits all with eating, but hopefully you guys can apply some of the tips and tricks and advice we were able to fit into this video to help you make the most of whatever situation you're in.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
Be sure to like and follow our podcast on whatever platform you're currently listening to it on.
Check out our social media linked in the description and tune in next week for even more advice.
TTYL
From IFL.
Bye!